Are you somebody who's in a calorie deficit but suffers from strong food cravings? Are you somebody who wants to increase their performance during the cut? Whatever the reason, this video is for you. I'm Alex Wallace from Wallace Training Systems, and this is Cheat Meals 101, everything you need to know about cheat meals. The first thing you need to understand is that there's two different types of cheat meals. The first one is intentional and strategic, and the other one is accidental or socially unavoidable. Let's first talk about the intentional cheat meal, and let's talk about it in relation to a refeed day. Talking about all the intricacies of a refeed day might be outside of the scope of this video, but it's important that we at least touch base on it and understand how a cheat meal can serve as part of your refeed day. So oftentimes a cheat meal, at least in my experience, is typically higher in carbs, and a refeed day is also typically higher in carbs. You can use a refeed day or a cheat meal to basically allow yourself to push a little bit harder in the gym going forward. I noticed that I am more psychologically involved in the workout that I have. Physically, I can get a better pump when I have a little more carbs in me, especially if I was low carb for a while and then I get to bump it up for the next couple of days or the next couple of meals. So really that's the first way to utilize a cheat meal, as part of your refeed, as part of recarbing back up during your prolonged diet so you can increase your performance in the gym. And remember guys, it's your performance in the gym, it's your ability to continue to lift heavy weights that's gonna keep your muscle mass on. Before we get into the second reason on why you should have a strategic cheat meal, it's important to understand two different terms. The first one being homeostatic hunger, and the second being hedonistic hunger. A 2009 study done in the Journal of Nutrition sums up the difference nicely. Homeostatic hunger is a result of a net calorie deficit, or basically the sensation of not having enough food. Again, that's homeostatic hunger, or basically feeling hungry because you're not eating enough. The second type of hunger, or hedonic hunger, is basically a type of hunger that's a result of psychological reasons. Namely, you may not be in a calorie deficit, but you still have a strong craving for a certain type of food. A study done in 2014, conducted by Blecher et al., looked at subjects who were restricted from chocolate consumption. What they found was that a restriction of chocolate consumption increased the desire for chocolate in some, but not all of the participants. The study also concluded that oftentimes binge eating is a result of hedonic cravings. That is, cravings unrelated to calorie restriction. In my experience, if you're eating minimally processed whole foods most of the time, sometimes you'll get a strong hedonic food craving. Namely, you'll just have this sensation to eat something palatable, whether that's something salty, whether that's something greasy, or whether that's something sweet. Everybody has that type of sinful food that they just have a craving to eat. And I believe that a well-timed cheat meal can help you actually mitigate that hunger. If somebody never gives in to that type of hedonic hunger, at some point, they're probably gonna enter a binge. I noticed that with a lot of clients. They'll be restrictive, then all of a sudden, they'll open Pandora's box, if you will. They'll reach in and have one piece of chocolate. Before they know it, all of it's gone. A better strategy would be to plan when you're actually gonna have that meal, to actually set aside a certain day, a certain meal, a certain time when you're actually gonna partake in that food that you crave. Not only does it prevent binge eating in my experience, but I also think that it provides a good motivating factor for you to stay strict to your calorie restricted diet up until your next cheat meal. If you know on the weekend you're gonna have a couple glasses of wine or a slice of pizza or whatever, it makes it easier to go the rest of the week knowing that you're gonna have that to look forward to. Guys, think about it like work. If you have to work crazy hours, but you know you're gonna have a vacation at the end of that month, well then you're able to push yourself a little bit harder. The second type of cheat meal is the accidental or socially unavoidable cheat meal. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. An example of an accidental cheat meal is, let's say you go out with your girlfriend, boyfriend, or friends, and then all of a sudden, whatever you ordered ended up being way more than you actually anticipated. A lot of people have a hard time wasting food, so what they'll do is they'll finish that meal anyway, because they already paid for it. Now, I don't think that this is the best logic. I understand why people do it. And when that actually happens and you accidentally overconsume, you can actually mitigate for that. The way that I mitigate for that is I try to make up for those excess calories the next day. So if I have an accidental cheat meal, where I maybe consume, let's say, 500 additional calories than I had actually planned for throughout that day, then the next day I'll eat slightly less at each meal, trying to make up for that 500 calorie surplus by being in an additional 500 calorie deficit the following day. A socially unavoidable cheat meal would be something like a birthday party or a family gathering. Oftentimes when you're with your family, somebody will prepare food for you. You might feel like it's rude if you don't actually eat that food. I'm guilty of this. My family, a lot of our gatherings center around a big meal, and I'm not going to be rude and just not eat any of it, but I am going to mitigate for that. If I know ahead of time that I'm going to overconsume, I'll actually prepare for that ahead of time. So let's say that I know I'm going to have a big meal at my grandmother's, mother's, whatever it is, then throughout that day, the day of, I'm probably going to lower my carbs or eliminate my carbs up until that meal. Again, because I'm trying to stay in a net calorie deficit. While I don't think anybody would deny that being consistent with your meals is probably the best thing, when you have these accidental or socially unavoidable reasons to overconsume, the best way to mitigate it is to try to mitigate it either the day of or the day after. Remember guys, having a net calorie deficit day to day is very important, but you also want to be in a net calorie deficit week to week. In short, there are really 4 reasons to have a cheat meal. Number 1, a strategic refeed to increase gym performance and maintain muscle mass during your cut. Number 2, to avoid binge eating because of hedonic hunger. Number 3, by accident. And number 4, for socially unavoidable reasons. Given those 4 reasons, if you follow the strategies laid out in this video, you can mitigate for those cheat meals and make sure that they serve you and don't actually become a detriment to your diet. Guys, if you like the video, don't forget to like the video. If you're interested in seeing more content like this, make sure you subscribe. Again, I'm Alex Wallace from Wallace Training Systems, and thanks for watching.